Hello there, everyone. Welcome. And with me, I've got Mr. Angus Scott. Angus, very warm welcome to you.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So I'm just going to talk to you about the Manchester United game from a couple of seasons ago. And we
Yeah.
are talking uh, after the Manchester City draw, so it will be kind of, I suppose, reminded a bit. But yeah, I just want to ask you a few questions about that day and how you felt before and after the game. So, first generic question is: before the game, what were your expectations, if you had any, into the game? Or was it just, oh, let's sell out Ashton Gate and we'll just have a bit of fun?
Oh, I think we all went there or watched it from wherever we were in the world. I was in Qatar at the time, thinking, oh, I think we were in good form. We were playing well, probably the best we'd played around that time with Lee Johnson. And it was coming towards the end of the year, big busy Christmas period. But I think we were playing some decent football. And from my point of view, I was working out in Qatar at the time, working for beIN Sports. And there are only a few occasions when we've got Bristol City and the chance of getting City on the telly. And because we're dealing with Premier League and Champions League and World Cups and things like that. So I pinpointed our game and said, well, A, we're covering it, and B, I'm doing it. So I was really excited being in the studio actually, and thought, this could be all right. You look at a midfield. We'd relied on the likes of Marlon Pack,
Yeah.
the likes of Aidan Flint, Joey Bryan was at his best. And I suppose we had a little bit of versatility, but Lee had got us playing some decent football. We were all right. I mean, we were cruising all the way up until that game against Wolves at home. It was terrific.
In terms of all-time City games, where does that rank? That
Uh,
infamous
in
night?
Yeah, in I wasn't there. Now I was in the studio and I went absolutely mad and started dancing around the studio and I was, standing on the top of the our studio set. Um, as games go, I think I put it in definitely in my top five, maybe in my top three. I think Liverpool, because I was there at Anfield in '94, was probably my favourite. I remember Hartlepool in the playoffs. I was there and in quite low in the crowd behind Neil Cooper in the Hartlepool uh, dugout, and that two late goals just made that extraordinary. Um, and then I might put the United game maybe third ish, but certainly in the top five. I think of all the games that I've been to.
Just quickly on that particular night, I suppose, what were your emotions just throughout that game? Just talk me through your emotions, like minute one right until minute 90, because that is obviously the crucial bit.
I always felt Ibrahimovic was going to score. I
Yeah.
just felt it was extraordinary that a player like him was there and was going to be on that pitch at some stage and score. And I just felt that was going to happen. But again, I think starting at the beginning, I'm nervous. You build up to you try and build up to every game in the same way. But when it's your side, you have to be a little bit biased. I was working in the studio with Clive Allen and Jason McAteer. So they were no lovers of Manchester United, but they could see my enthusiasm for City and sort of went with it and sat there in the build up to the game going, well, we don't really need to be here. You just need to be telling us about your side, really. So I was going through, you know, Corey, whatever, Joey Bryan, and talking about our strengths. And then the game started. And then it was, but we were so positive all the way through, I think. And there was belief, even though we survived a few scary moments, quite a lot of scary moments, actually, there was still that belief that something could happen. And then when it happened so late, I just went, I did a little tour it was a big studio, and I just ran around the studio, whooping with glee and punching the set and just going utterly bonkers, as if I was there. That same sort of emotion. It was a brilliant feeling.
As I mentioned, it was the 90th minute, the winner, and
Yeah.
let's say 89th minute. Did you genuinely believe City could go on to win that game, or
I think I still felt we would have a chance. I still felt it was one of those games where there had been a lot of chances that we can still do. We will still get an opportunity. Did I think it would come the way it did? No. Did I think it would be the goal scorer it was? Definitely not. But we pushed and pushed down that left-hand side all night. It was, if the first goal was utterly brilliant, the second goal was just, fantastic. And at that time of the game, it was just an awesome moment. But what a time to score as well. There's very little you can do to come back from that when you score so late.
Talked about Bristol City that night.
Yes.
We said Manchester United. I think you have to put into context that Manchester United that season finished second in the Premier League. That is, I think, their highest finish in 5 years. They had a Champions League winning coach in the dugout, as you mentioned, rightly, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Romelu Lukaku, some really, really top-class players who are still playing at a very high level 5 years
Marcus
on.
Rashford, Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial were playing. McTominay still playing. Look, Paul Pogba was playing that night.
Yeah.
And the likes of Marlon and Corey sorted him out, really. That was the joy of it all, and Josh Brownhill in there as well.
Yeah. So after that game, everyone was it was ridiculous. City at that point in the league were fourth, I believe, if I'm remembering rightly. I think we were 6 points clear of seventh, and we were 3 points behind second, who were Cardiff at the time, who eventually got promoted. Did you believe that win would have just clicked something and we would have gone on a run and really just pushed?
It was brilliant, and it was good impetus for us. And then when we had the draw of City in the semi-finals, I thought, okay, this is good, but we have to be careful. We were never, as well as we played, I never thought we would beat City in the semi-finals. Certainly not over 2 legs. Over 1 leg, you stood a chance. 2 legs, didn't think it was going to happen. And when we were, 2-0 down at home, you just think, right, game over. Okay, we showed a lot of character. But I was always concerned about what it would take out of us. And because our success there meant we had a lot of crunch games in a smaller space of time, and I think we just ran out of legs. We just couldn't do it anymore because we were playing high pressure, high press football, and we couldn't do it all the time. When it worked well and when we all had gas, great. But when we ran out of puff, we couldn't play the same way. And that, I think, is why our season tailed off so badly.
So you believe that win possibly hindered our league season?
It might have done. Yes, probably. The success in that cup, and remember, you've got 2 semi-final legs, huge. And think of the emotional toll as well. You're playing both Manchester clubs. Manchester United, the number 1 club in the world historically, effectively, and you've beaten them. You've beaten Jose Mourinho. It's, you don't get much of a bigger, and to do it in front of your home crowd, fantastic. Then you go to the Etihad in January, and you think for all the world you might actually win that game when you go 1 up, and the emotion there, and then the seesaw emotion also at Ashton Gate, when ultimately we lost. That's a lot to deal with. And then to push for promotion. And I just think it was all too much for us in the end.
In terms of that run, that cup run, who was your standout player during both Manchester clubs and especially that Manchester United game?
I think Bobby Reid was just extraordinary. I think his pace completely worried the back four. I think they both played back four. So they played. I can't remember if they played three, if Man City played three at the back, but for United and certainly City up at the Etihad, I think Bobby Reid's pace was phenomenal and just worried them. And then with Pato sort of playing in behind, they made good space for everyone else. So I think, yeah, Bobby Reid was brilliant, actually.
Normally, what happens with an overachieving team that's impressed in front of the cameras is the players get picked apart by clubs top of the food chain. Do you think that really happened to City, or do you think that we kind of did well to weather that?
Yeah, we did for a bit, didn't we? But then we lost the likes of Bobby, Josh. If you think of that side now, if I look at it, no one's at the club anymore. They've all gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Nathan's so Nathan's the last one who's retired, obviously. Magnuson not there. Bailey obviously has gone. Pato's out of here. Bobby Reid went ages ago. So, and even when you look at the bench, Zach, I think,
Yeah,
probably Zach. Zach's the only one.
Yeah.
So we've changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
And I think we were right to sell Bobby. These things have to happen. Josh was disappointing. I think we've missed him massively, Josh Brownhill. And then Joey was at his peak and he was right to go as well. So, we've changed quite a bit. And while we held on to them, yes, for a bit, if you think it's not so long that you've actually completely changed not just your side, but your squad. So there's barely anyone there.
Thank you very much, Angus, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.